half of the 1UP Superstar Series playoffs has been complete. We still have the second half to go, and it all kicks off right here in Denver, Colorado at the Denver Motorsports Park. But this time, unlike in the spring, we take on the road course configuration. 3.7 miles of undulating terrain, high-speed action, technical section in the middle. What's not to love about a place like this? And alongside me in the booth to bring you all the action for today's race is Jacob Krega with us once again. For me, it's going to be a lot to talk about today because there's a big points battle between Dylan Young and Miles Mashburn going into this race. Only 4 points separate them going into today. And part of me also wonders if anyone's going to try what transpired last year to save enough fuel in the mid portion of this race to make it to the end without having to make a trip to pit road.
Well, a lot of people are going to be certainly talking about that and whatnot, and trying to see, all right, let's see what these guys did last year. Let's see if we can try to replicate it. But honestly, it's going to be a challenge to see if you can make it the entire distance here on just a single tank of fuel. I mean, there's a lot of undulation. There's the technical section in the middle. So these guys are going to be going through gears, and they're going to be using high revs when they are changing those gears. So it's a matter of, do you try to take a turn in a higher gear than you would if you were just running full 100% speed? Maybe try to save a little fuel here and there, lift and coast, that kind of thing. But of course, with that, others around you might be, full sending it and might not care about the fuel and might try to just win the race on pure speed. It's all to play for here at this beautiful facility.
It's going to be a lot of fun because flashback to this race a year ago when Rasha Mahendra picked up his maiden Superstar Series win in a 1-2 finish for the Project Horizon racing team, and he starts 8th today. Could he go for the double and score his second win at the same place where he got his first? A quick look now at the top of the point standings right now. It is, like I said, a tight battle between two drivers going for the series championship. Dylan Young with a 4-point lead over Miles Mashburn. Didn't have the best day at Talladega last time out, but he did just enough to hold on to his points lead, and with Young starting on the outside pole today, and Mashburn all the way down in 15th for the start, I have a feeling that points lead is going to be padded just a little bit today.
I don't know. Miles Mashburn has been really consistent this season outside of the random, race where he's, had to be sent to the back due to, coming on down pit road, say, like what happened a couple of weeks ago at Texas or earlier this season at Kentucky. So I'm not going to count out Mashburn just yet on this, but of course it is also an opportunity for some other drivers to pick up some points on both these guys. I mean, on the inside pole, leading the field to the green is Henry Thomas in the 16 car. So he's got an opportunity to pick up some points here. You got Christian Vargas, of course, both third in points, third in qualifying. So, yeah, it's a good opportunity for some of these guys to try and pick up some points, even with Dylan Young starting on that outside front row.
And with that being said, we can now bring you the starting lineup for today's 20 laps of racing action. It is indeed Henry Thomas on pole position, and that's a dangerous sight for the rest of the field when you consider he won the Nitro National race here last year from the pole position. Can he convert again in the Superstar Series and get his first win in this series in almost 6 years? Dylan Young lines up alongside him. We've already discussed that. Christian Vargas third. Cale Tescar Jr. made a big jump in the points after Talladega. He lines up fourth. And how about the magnificent effort from Crossroads Racing, Stephen Hunter, the former champion, putting the 31 in the top 5 for the start of this race. But from Thomas on pole all the way down to our lowest playoff starter, Chase Christ in 23rd, I have a feeling there's going to be varying agendas today based on where you start in this race. The strategies will vary, and one of these 42 drivers is going to have the right one at the end of the day.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if you're like a Jeffrey Finn guy or a Zayden Davidson, where you are 85, 84 points back out from Dylan Young at the tail end of the playoffs, you're going to have to try and maybe see if you can stretch the fuel all the way to the end here. You can't afford to make a pit stop and hope that if these guys even take tires at the end, if tires are even going to be really much of an advantage or disadvantage, in addition to seeing if you can stretch the fuel, if they can maybe make the gap up. Because road course racing in any of these top three series does see the field get very stretched out. So if you're starting further in the back, you're already starting at a disadvantage, but you're going to be at a greater disadvantage the more and more the field gets spread out here. So Davidson, Finn Guy, yeah, they're starting in the top 15 here. Finn Guy is starting off ninth, but they really got to try and be able to actually work their way up. And you said it, Stephen Hunter, great qualifying effort in fifth. But honestly, though, Crossroads Racing, known for their great qualifying, not known for their great finishes. But we'll have to see how he's able to tackle to see if he can stay out of trouble today.
So with that being said, we have 42 drivers ready to tackle the 3.7 miles of the Denver Motorsports Park road course, and we're ready to bring you that action now. For 20 laps, these superstars will take on the only road course in the series playoffs. Get ready, folks. It's going to be a big one. Stay tuned for the green flag. Making their way through the final chicane, 16 on the left, 17 to the right, and one more left at turn 18. Heading into the restart zone, the field bunches back up behind Henry Thomas. Getting ready for the green flag here at Denver, which is now out in the air. We are racing for 20 laps at Denver Motorsports Park. And look at that, further back, Miles Mashburn not wanting to waste any time trying to get to the front of the field, but Ben McDonald cuts him off in the mad dash down to the first braking zone in turn 3.
Yeah, that was really great start for Miles Mashburn there, although he's going to lose a little bit of time stuck right on the back bumper of Henry Thomas here. Ben McDonald, my bad. Henry Thomas leads him down into turn 3. He was already clear of the field by the time they got to oval turn 1. It looks like Vargas, followed by Teskar, have both gotten around Dylan Young and Stephen Hunter now side by side with 29 as they head down towards turn number 5.
Making their way through 5, the heavy braking zone, and the sweeping right-hander that is turn 6, before you make your way down to the downhill chicane of turn 7, 8, and 9. Everybody makes it through the first part of the lap cleanly. Down the hill 7, to turn 8, turn 9. Then the long straightaway towards another sweeper, turn 10. But so far it is Henry Thomas in command of this race, Vargas in close pursuit.
Yeah, and that downhill chicane there, it is blind and it is fast with your entry there, so you got to be extra careful. Looks like the entire field made it through cleanly. Henry Thomas has pulled out good 3, 4, 5 car lengths ahead of Vargas as they head into the braking zone. Looks like Stephen Hunter's lost a couple of spots now to, looks like the 42 and the 51, I believe.
Yeah, Miles Mashburn's also lost out. Mashburn's also lost a couple of positions to Zachary Fitzwater and possibly here to Mark Davey in the 11 as well. Field making their way through oval 3 and 4, road course turns 14 and 15. But up at the front of the field, Henry Thomas has built up a solid lead, and as he leads the field through the final chicane, that is a lap at the Denver Motorsports Park road course.
Yeah, it seems longer than it actually is, but it is still quite quick, as it looks like Vargas kind of closed in a little bit on Henry there through the chicane a little bit. He's pulled away from Teskar for sure. But yeah, as they run through oval 1 and 2 now, just building up speed as they get ready for this braking zone turn 3, which is deceptively comes up quick here, as it is basically right on the exit of turn 2 where you have to start hitting the brakes for turn 3 as they head through turn 4 now. Looks like everybody's starting to get string out a little bit single file here as everybody tries to set up and get him to a rhythm here.
Yeah, and for Henry Thomas, he's no stranger to leading races. He's led a few this season, and he's no stranger to success at this racetrack either. Remember what we said in the pre-race. He won the Nitro National race here from the pole last year, so he knows how to win here, and he would very much love to end his exceptionally long winless drought here today, going back almost 6 years. Meanwhile, Dylan Young has settled into 4th position after starting 2nd. As they run right now, he would pad his points cushion over Miles Mashburn by a considerable amount, but he looks like he's sizing up Kel Teskar Jr. possibly for a pass into turn 12.
Yeah, and really, Henry Thomas has got to hope that Dylan Young doesn't make that move on Teskar. Maybe even Dylan Young may be challenged by, say, Devin Fair for that 4th spot, because of the fact that allows Henry Thomas to gain more points and to really reel in both Mashburn and Young, and to a lesser degree Vargas, even though Vargas is right behind him, for that championship fight, especially with Miles Mashburn floundering in the midfield at the moment because he wasn't able to make up spots on the start. In fact, lost spots, as we mentioned, on that opening lap. We now take a look at Emma Kruger making her return.
Yeah, and a good start, has to be said. Making her first start since Michigan earlier in the playoffs. A big wreck there sidelined her for a couple races, but she started 10th in this race, already gained a spot up to 9th, and is now working on the back of Zachary DeLello for the 8th position. So Emma Kruger doing a very solid job in her return to the series, and you would expect nothing less. She's great at this type of racing. I believe won at Silverstone earlier this season as well.
So yeah, doing a phenomenal job in her return back here. Great to see her back in that car as well. So yeah, running well, as we see Mashburn a little bit further back. I want to say around the 16th position, if I'm doing my count correctly here. Just ahead of JD Martin, right behind Zachary Fitzwater in 59.
Yeah, Fitzwater has done a solid job too at the start of this race. He's picked up a couple of positions from where he started today down in 17th place. But yeah, Mashburn, this is around the point in the race where you learn what your car has, and you might realize he probably doesn't have a car capable of winning this race on pure speed. But what he might have is a good crew chief up on top of the box. Maybe call him in a little early, split the race in half, try and make something happen, because you're not going to win this race on your own with this far back in the field.
Yeah, or even be able to set the car to have the fuel mileage to make it the entire distance too. If some others ahead of him needs to pit, as we discussed in the pre-race. So it'll be interesting to see what they can accomplish here and whatnot on top of that pit box, and see if Mashburn can execute that strategy to perfection on his end out here on the track.
So we just did a quick through the field, see where your favorite driver is running after 3 laps have been completed here. At Denver, Henry Thomas's lead, 0.7 of a second between himself and Christian Vargas. 1.2 seconds back is Cale Teskar Jr. So the front of the field starting to string themselves out a little bit. Dylan Young even further behind, and Rasha Mahendra is not that far behind Devin Fair in their battle for 5th.
Yeah, in fact, the thing, Mahendra was actually right on the back bumper of Fair there through ovals 1 and 2. So, yeah, still on the back bumper actually of Devin Fair as they head down through turn 4. Ooh, looks like Teskar got a little loose on the corner exit there, turn 4.
Yeah, you see that a lot here at Denver. We saw it yesterday in the Nitro National race as well. You get a bad push coming through turn 4 sometimes, and that really forces you to take a wide line, and that compromises your speed pretty much through this entire section. But it happens more often than you think, and every driver is going to experience it at least once in this race. As look at this, Mahendra right on the back of Devin Fair. Remember, this 42 car on that no-stop strategy last year won this race.
Yeah, and speaking of wide lines, Devin Fair actually took a wider line through turn 6 there. Right as you were mentioning, the wide line off of turn 4. So, but he didn't really lose much speed to Mahendra either, as we see a little bit further up. I believe that is a battle for the 3rd spot between Young and Teskar. Teskar able to fend off Dylan Young for the moment here as they head through turns 14 and 15, ovals 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think what happened there was Dylan Young compromised his exit to get a really good entry into turn 12, and what that did was it made him have to take a tighter line and a tighter exit, and that allowed Cale Teskar Jr. with more momentum to swing around the outside and hold on to the place. But at the front of the field, it continues to be the Henry Thomas show, with a gap of about 8.5 tenths now between himself and Christian Vargas, and I don't want to put a jinx on anything yet, but so far, this looks really good for Henry Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. He won from the pole in the Nitro National race during our visit here last time out a year ago, so he's just picking up where he left off effectively. compared to that last visit here, as actually, I think he actually got a little loose on exit there himself, like what happened with Vargas a lap ago, and that's allowed Vargas to go just a little bit here. Although that said, this battle for third isn't over, as Dylan Young, despite his compromised exit as they headed back onto the oval previous time by, he was still able to stay tucked up close to Teskar, even though it's allowed Fair to close in a little bit himself on that battle for third.
And meanwhile, something else I noticed as well, Emma Kruger managed to pass Zachary DeLello a little while ago, and now she's tracking down Stephen Hunter for the 7th position. That's 70. He's on a bit of a roll as of late. Started this race in 10th, already gained 3 spots, and I don't think that Emma Kruger is done quite yet with her overtakes today.
Yeah, especially with being out of the car for a while, she's got something to prove and whatnot, or at least it seems like she feels like she's got something to prove, where she feels like she has to, try and get into the car, get a great finish here, and say, yeah, I'm all right, I'm healthy, I can still race when I need to.
Absolutely. So, right now we're focused on the battle for 5th position between Devin Fair, Rasha Mahendra, and just look at that teal number 70 creeping closer and closer. Emma Kruger did dispatch Stephen Hunter, and now she's setting off after the other Toyotas of Rasha Mahendra and Devin Fair directly ahead. And to the surprise of practically nobody, the fastest lap of the race also goes to that 70 car in her charge through the field. So great race so far, as it looks as though Mashburn has picked up a couple of spots back. He now currently runs in about 15th again.
Yeah, it's about where he started too, so honestly, even if you're not able to make up spots, it's always better to at least hold position in a race, I feel, than it is to just have a net loss of spots in a race. And right now Mashburn is probably just ensuring that he doesn't have that loss of spots in this race, because that's just more points lost to Dylan Young, to Christian Vargas, who's going to be catching up a lot of points, to Henry Thomas, who's going to be catching up even more points since he's out in the lead right now.
One thing Mashburn could be doing as well, he might be trying to hold position while also saving a little bit of fuel to try and make it to the end. That might be his best strategy, to try and save enough to try and not have the pit and make it to the end. We saw that work with the 2 Project Horizon cars last year, and I'm sure at least somebody's going to try and give it a shot here today.
I don't think Emma Kruger's on that strategy. I think she's on the strategy of go fast, make that guaranteed pit stop because you're burning a lot of fuel by going fast, and try to make up the time through raw speed. But I think some of these other guys, especially up here at the front, are probably thinking, all right, am I saving enough fuel? Am I not? Do we need to pit? Do we not? Do I need to back off the pace? I mean, they've got a little bit of time to spare to back off the pace, just a little bit if they want to ensure that they can make it the rest of the way without having to pit at all. But I don't know. It's going to be close for these guys, because the further up the front you are running, of course, the more fuel you are burning, because you got everybody behind you trying to make a push. As we see, Kruger has made the pass on Mahindra, forced that 6th position through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, and of course it's easier to save fuel when you're in a giant pack of cars as opposed to running out all by yourself, because you have other cars to base yourself off of. But if these guys are gonna think a while about coming to pit road, they have a lot of time. I would expect them to not need to make that decision until probably about under 5 to go. So they've got time to mull it over, but the moment they see someone in the top 10 duck to pit road, they got to realize that they're going to have to follow suit sooner rather than later.
Well, I'm expecting at least one guaranteed driver to make that trip to pit road. So these guys are probably going to be sweating bullets here throughout the entire race here.
And don't think this race is just about the pit stop. Far from it. It's just a key point of conversation. But we've had some great racing on this track as well. We've had Emma Kruger charging her way through the field from 10th on the grid all the way up to 6th now, and starting to close in on Devin Fair for good measure. So this 70, before too long, I have a feeling could be right on the back of the Teskar Young battle as well.
Yeah, and honestly, dare I say, Emma Kruger probably has the speed to take the lead by the time she has to make that pit stop. Of course, that's still a little ways away, as she was, almost 4.25 seconds back, last time by. It's going to be interesting to see what the interval is as they cross the line to complete lap 7 here.
Thomas has a big
Henry
lead.
Thomas just, yeah, it's 3.8. So yeah, Emma Kruger is definitely closing it in. But as you said, Thomas has a huge lead. He's really been setting the pace for the most part here. So be interesting to see what Emma Kruger can do. But honestly, that's just what you got to do at a road course. You just got to keep up a consistent rhythm around these places. It's why you see these guys get strung out, why you see them in single file. Because, yeah, side-by-side racing is great, but at the same time, there is strategy at play. We see Finguy and McDonald side-by-side briefly coming out of turn 4 through turn 5. Looks like Finguy is going to have the spot there.
Another car, sorry to interrupt, but another car I've been keeping my eye on is this one right here. Julio Cesar in the 00. He goes side by side with Stephen Hunter downhill into the chicane. That's the pass for 8th spot. He started down in 14th position, so that's plus 6 places for Julio Cesar since the start of this race. And he is a former winner at Denver. Of course, that was on the oval track, but he's no stranger to success here either.
Yeah, but like racing is as much about it being a big chess match. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to, choose your battles? Although Emma Kruger is certainly picking every battle she comes to. She's on the back bumper of Devon Fair now for that top 5.
I don't think she's going to be on his bumper for very long because she pulls out to the inside. They're going to be side by side into the final chicane. That's going to benefit Emma Kruger because she's going to pinch Fair to take the tighter line through there, and that's going to allow her to make a clean pass. Welcome to the top 5. That didn't take long, now did it?
Yep, and although it looks like Fair was trying to pinch her down onto the apex, or first apex there for turn 16 in the chicane there, didn't quite work because it gave Emma a chance to slingshot around the outside of 17 into the inside of 18. But yeah, she's definitely making a charge up towards the front of the field there. And as we saw, I believe that said that she had the fastest lap of the race still.
Yep, she sure does. And I don't think she's going to lose it considering the tire fall off we have here. One thing I also noticed, Dylan Young a couple laps ago made the pass on Cale Teskar Jr. to move himself up in the 3rd. I think this 29 has been saving a little bit in the early stages of the race, hanging out behind the 18. Now that he's cleared Teskar, I think he wants to set off after Vargas because that's an important pass for him to make when you consider the 2nd place in the race is worth 5 more points than 3rd is.
Yeah, maybe Dylan Young thinks he's saved enough to make it to the end here. Or maybe he realizes he can't make it, so he's trying to turn up the jets here and try to switch to that pure speed strategy that like Emma Kruger has been on, like what Julio Cesar might be on and whatnot. While say Teskar might still be trying to save fuel to try and make it to the end here.
And look at this, Emma Kruger has found her way to the lead group already. She was 3.1 seconds back at the start of the lap. And now she's pretty much all over Cale Teskar Jr. for 4th. You might be right about that 70 car. However, she's going to have to make a couple more passes to get to the front of the field as we're quickly approaching half race distance.
Yeah, because 2 laps ago, she was at that, 4.25 second mark. Now she's down to less than now she's made up over a second of that over the course of those last 2 laps. And now is down to almost 2 full seconds cut out of that distance. So yeah, because she's right on the back bumper of Teskar, who lost a little bit of time to Henry Thomas lap.
Yeah, although I have noticed Vargas has been trying to make up some ground on Thomas as well. He got the gap down to just under 3/4 of a second. Now Thomas is starting to get a bit of a gap once again. But one thing I've noticed, these 5 cars seem to be the best ones all day. And they each seem to be better at different points on the track, and that allows them to string out, bunch together, and then string out again. That's what we love about this kind of racing. Everyone's good somewhere. It takes a real driver to be good everywhere.
Yeah, notice Kruger seems to be good just about everywhere on the track, especially in the braking zones and on the high-speed sections. Thomas seems to be just good on the high-speed sections. Vargas seems to be better on the technical section here, on the infield section of the road course. Dylan Young's about average everywhere, not necessarily great, not necessarily bad. Teskar seems to be pretty good in the back half of the road course section and the back onto the oval layout here. At least from what my observations are. And who knows, maybe Thomas has actually backed off the pace to try and make it the rest of the way, as we are going to be coming to the crossed flags to mark the halfway point in this race at the end of this lap.
Which, of course, means any pit stops from this point onward, you could easily make it to the end. The question is, who's the first one to take that chance? Because if you pit, and no matter where in the field you pit from, you're going to cycle out to right at the back of the field. So you're going to have a lot of traffic to pick your way through, but if you think those guys are going to have to pit and you don't have to anymore, might be a play, as Vargas takes a look on Thomas for the lead. He's got the gap down, wow, to just a 10th and a half.
Yeah, cut out half a second of that gap to him. He had a better run through that chicane there, through 16, 17, and 18, back into the tri-oval there. And now he's right on the back bumper of Henry Thomas. Going to see if he tries to make a move here into turn 3. I think Thomas actually got a little bit slidey.
Oh, we've got our first take.
Road is Devin Fair.
Yeah, he's the first one. Okay, so that's a good information to have. He's the first one to take a crack at this pit stop. As soon as the window opened for him to make it to the end, he ducked onto pit road for a splash of gas and booked it out of there. Okay, so Devin Fair is going to rejoin in last, but he doesn't have to necessarily pit again. He can go full beans for the rest of this race. No one else here can, or at least no one's guaranteed to be able to do so. So we'll see where Devin cycles out in all of this, but for now, it's Thomas that leads the train down the hill.
Yeah, I do wonder if Henry Thomas might have backed off the pace, either because feels like maybe his tires have started to fall away just a little bit. I don't know, it's hard to tell. The pavement isn't really tire wear heavy here. You don't really lose that much time on older tires.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fast corners here, and you got to take that into account as well, especially when you're going up through the gears here. But one thing I am noticing, though, we are seeing some fall off. We're about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds a lap slower than we were at the start of this race. Probably by the end, we're going to be about 3 to 4 seconds off the pace, and I don't think anybody coming to pit road is going to take tires either. So you're really going to have to manage them as best you can, because that's the set you're going to have all day.
Yeah, especially when you're on the higher loads on the right sides, on these high speed sections around the oval turns here, as we see, I believe that was Young getting a little bit squirrely through.
Oh, we got one more coming in, Stephen Hunter.
Yep.
Let's see if anyone else comes in further back in the field, but I don't think anyone is, not yet anyway. So Stephen Hunter follows Devin Fair in on the next lap to get his pit stop out of the way. There's Devin Fair coming through Oval 4 right now, and he's actually not that far off the back of the field, as Young dives one down the inside of turn 3 to try and get past the 54.
Yeah, he really spent it in there, and they're going to be side by side through turn 4 still, although it's now right kinks here for turn 5. And now turn 6 also is a right-hander. That's going to give Vargas the advantage, although right behind, Kruger now makes the move on Teskar, who goes really wide in turn 6.
I don't think
Kruger
that was by choice.
To easily make the move.
Yeah, I don't think that was by choice that Teskar ran that wide in turn 6. But regardless, Kruger now up to 4th place and going to set her next target on that 29 of Dylan Young.
Yeah, who failed to make the move on Vargas. In fact, Vargas was able to pull a little bit of a gap by a couple car lengths over the 29 as they enter the chicane. Looks like Devin Fair ahead of Stephen Hunter there after the pit stop for the 31. Although Henry Thomas still continues to lead, it'll be interesting to see if he has to make a pit stop here. I feel like Emma Kruger has to make a pit stop here, especially with as quick as she's been running compared to everybody else here.
It's gonna be interesting to see, because Kruger, it's an interesting case, because it looks like she's managing her tires the best out of everybody, but at the same time she's burning through more fuel than everybody else. It's an interesting situation here. I think Caesar's another one that's probably going to need to make a pit stop sooner rather than later. He's been charging through the field as well. Checking to see, is anyone else coming down pit road? Doesn't look like it, so they're still trying to make up their minds as to what the right strategy is as the race is in progress.
Yeah, I mean, we're only just past halfway, and there's still a lot of racing to go here. So you said it earlier, like the real crunch time for whether you decide to make that pit stop or not is going to come within the last 5 laps or so. So, like, yeah, you have Stephen Hunter and Devin Fair making the decision early just to guarantee getting that pit stop out of the way. You don't have to worry about it. You can floor it the rest of the way from here. They're going to make up time on everybody else who waits to make the pit stop here in the last few laps.
And I'm sure all of this is running through the mind of Henry Thomas, who's riding a near 6-year winless streak in the Superstar Series. You got to go all the way back to Pikes Peak in 2020, the last time we saw Henry Thomas in victory lane. He has been wanting this for so long. He's locked up the point for leading the most laps. I don't think he cares too much about that. There's only one thing he's after today, and that is that trophy at the end of the day.
Well, how about getting the trophy and bookending a winless streak with 2 wins in Colorado? How about that?
That's certainly one way to go about it, but for Henry Thomas, he's also got to keep Christian Vargas in mind, because that 54 has been closing in a little bit each and every lap, to the point where now, as we wait for it to scroll back up, the gap at the line last time by was only about 3.5 tenths, and I'm curious to see what it's going to look like this time. It looks like the top 5 are starting to string out, Teskar in particular really falling off the lead 4.
Honestly, it seems like the top 5, like, they close up together, they string out together, as we see Mahindra now not able to go back-to-back years of pitless strategies. Mahindra comes down pit road, but as I was saying about the top 5, it seems like they close up, they stretch out, like they're all trading blows with each other. As that top 5 really spread out now. Teskar really off pace compared to the 70 and the 29.
It's going to be fun to watch, especially at the end of this race when I expect a lot more pit stops to be taking place. But we've seen 3 of them come down so far. There's Mahindra leaving. He's probably going to come out behind the likes of Fair and Hunter. But that's another one that we know can make it to the end. We have 7 laps to go right here. Mahindra's leaving pit road. I think Hunter's going to get him through 1 and 2. And remember, the pit exit here is quite long. You don't get to the end of the pit exit here until you're at the apex of turn 3. So it's a long pit exit, and you got to make it work. But I think they're not going to have much of a choice if they're going to go for it. And who knows, if there are some people trying to stretch it and make it to the end, there could be some folks we haven't even mentioned yet today in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, you got Lane Sanders. He's up to 8th right now, thanks for the pit stops. You got Jeffrey Finguy, who's cracked the top 10, as has Ben McDonnell there in 10th in the number 12 car. They could be, surprises here if the leaders have to all come down. So it's not over just yet.
Not by a long shot. And I wouldn't be surprised if even a couple guys even further behind those could be trying to save a lot of fuel in the big pack that they're in. As we make our way through the chicane. Whoa, Thomas runs wide through there. That might get him a good launch on exit, though. As we come to 6 laps to go this time, we're checking the pit entry, see if anybody wants to take a trip down there yet. Don't see anybody coming right here. So got 6 laps to go. Thomas has built his lead back up to almost a second now, and that's dropped Vargas back into the clutches of Dylan Young and Emma Kruger, who's still finding her way towards the front.
Yeah, I think Emma Kruger used up her stuff there, making her remarkable charge up into the top 5 there, because she hasn't been able to make much progress after getting around Teskar, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's out of this just yet, as she's still hounding the 29 of Dylan Young for that 3rd spot.
It's good. Yeah, Kruger has been. It's weird. Kruger's been kind of stuck there for a good chunk of this race now. She sliced her way through the back half of the top 10, but now that she's gotten up to 4th, she hasn't really had much of a chance to do anything with it, because Dylan Young's done just enough to hold her off for that 3rd position, because Dylan Young needs all the points he can get at this point in proceedings.
Well, you know what they say, the further up the order you get closer to that front, the harder it is to make moves. Usually they're referring to the point standings when they say that, but it's still true even when you're on the actual physical racetrack racing other people. So
Yeah, it's all going to come down to those final few laps, I can only imagine, for the rest of this race. But for now, Henry Thomas has led them all. He's led all 14 laps from the pole, and we're coming to 5 laps to go this time. If you're going to come to pit road, you're going to need to think about doing it pretty soon so you have enough at the end to make a few passes here and there. So we're going to check. We're going to take a look here, see what pans out. They're going to go for at least another lap.
yeah. Interesting to see, though, that they aren't necessarily coming down pit road just yet. Maybe they know something we don't?
Who knows? They probably know a lot more than we do at the moment, but that's just because the teams are that good at what they do.
Oh, as Mark Davies coming down pit road by the looks of things.
Yeah, so he's bailing. He's coming down the pit road right now. But he wasn't really in contention to win this race as good as he is on the road courses. This is his final road course race of his career, and unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to end in a victory for him. But I don't know. We got 5 laps to go. Anything can still happen in the final 5.
Yeah, this is about when you said earlier, like I mentioned, that really it is crunch time for pit road. So with 4.5 laps to go, like, these guys are at this point like white knuckle thinking about the pit situation here. I know it's been in pretty much the talking point throughout the entire race, but like,
it's important, you know.
Even so, it is important, especially after what we saw with Mahindra last year. So
yeah, that's what got him the win of the race, and that's what got his teammate Liam Nolan up in the second. But for right now, Henry Thomas makes the trip back onto the oval section through 13 and out to turn 14. And he's built another decent gap over Christian Vargas again. I'm curious, has Thomas decided that he's saved enough now to where he can push towards the end? Or is he just building another gap so he can back the pace down again?
Or has maybe Vargas backed the pace down to try and make a run at Thomas on the off chance that Thomas needs to back the pace off? So that way, or even trying to back the pace off to build up enough reserve to go after Thomas regardless what Thomas does.
Well, let's see what the gap is here. It's pretty much stabilized at about 0.9 of a second. We're checking to see who, if anybody... Oh, Denoto blew the chicane, so he's coming down pit road. Something must be amiss on the 77, maybe a flat tire. That's a tough break for Denoto, considering he won the last time out at Talladega, as J.D. Martin also comes down pit road.
I don't think Denoto necessarily blew the chicane or has an issue. I think it was just how Denoto came onto pit road, and it's a splash and go for J.D. Martin.
Yeah, I think, they're changing the left side tires on the 77. I think he did have a tire go down, and that's why he lost the control in the chicane. But we only have 4 laps to go, 3 and change. So if these guys are going to pit, they're going to have to commit to it in the next lap or two.
Yeah, at this point, like, yeah, as you said, they have to commit to coming down pit road either this lap or just hope to not run out of fuel the other 3 laps in this race. I'm really, though, surprised that Emma Kruger hasn't come down pit road.
Neither is Caesar, for that matter.
Yeah, you would think both of them would need to come down pit road with as hard as they were running earlier in this race.
Maybe, maybe they know something we don't at Game Breaker Racing and Sanders Performance Autosport. But back onto the oval we go. Through 14 and 15, this is going to be the make or break moment right here. Will Thomas commit, or is he going to go towards the end of the race?
Well, we'll have to wait and see here as they head into the Charleville chicane here.
Okay, yep. Looks like
the Kruger's not pitting.
Kruger's going for another lap. It looks like everybody else is coming down pit road here. DeLello comes in, Sanders, Finguy, McDonald, they're all coming to pit road this time. They must have realized that they were not going to make it to the end. Chase Christ looks like he's going to stay out. Stephen Gale, Keon Daly, Patrick Smith, Echo Evans-Ross, they stay on the racetrack. Ryan Griffin, Kev Shearer, Liam Nolan, and a couple others at the back of the field, they all stay out. I think that might be the right call, considering they've been running at the back all day. They probably saved enough.
Yeah. Ooh, and this is going to be tight coming off pit road. Oh, contact.
Wow.
I don't think Vargas is going to be very happy about that.
Yeah, but I mean, this is going to be interesting because look, there's Devin Fair. He has actually cleared Dylan Young and Cale Tescar Jr. by doing that massive undercut, but I don't think he's actually going to get to Thomas and Vargas, as Vargas is basically pushing the 16 through the pit exit.
Yeah, they're now out ahead of Devin Fair, and they're good to go. They can push here as the field now cycles out. Looks like Mashburn also came down pit road there. So, yeah, Emma Kruger will need to pit here if she can't make it the rest of the way. Otherwise, it's game over for that 70 car.
I mean, she's got a 15-second lead over the next car to have stayed out, that being Chase Christ. If by some miracle she can make it to the end, this is her race to lose, because that lead you cannot make up in 2 laps.
Not unless Emma Kruger has some sort of issue, or she
runs out of gas,
backs off the pace,
or runs out of gas. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, running out of gas could constitute an issue.
I'd say that, yeah. But it looks like she is coming in this time. Okay, so Kruger pits on lap 18. That's going to cycle the lead to Chase Christ in this 46. He started down in 23rd, the lowest of our playoff contenders so far in this race. Let's see if he can make it to the end.
And yeah, he's staying out. Is this Stephen Gale? Patrick Smith comes down pit road.
Yeah, he can't make it. Smith's coming in. Liam Nolan, Hall, they're coming in. Bobo Jones, Logan Williams, they're pitting. And that basically leaves about six or seven cars that have stayed on the racetrack to try and make it to the end of the race. And led by Chase Christ, the one playoff driver who's decided to take a gamble.
I don't like this gamble, especially with everybody else coming down pit road at this point. Save for, Gale, Daly, Evans-Ross, Ryan Griffin, even. I don't like this gamble if most of everybody else is come down pit road. Although, at this point, running in the back, you've got to take that gamble. And look at this, Emma Kruger out ahead of Henry Thomas.
Well, that might be why she stayed out an extra lap. She might have thought with clean air she could do an overcut, and sure enough, it's worked to get her out ahead of Henry Thomas. So even if everyone does have the pit, and it looks like we had some contact with Eric Monaco in the pit lane. San Donato comes back down pit road for a second visit. And yeah, that might be where it happened with Eric Monaco. We'll get a look at that after the checkered flag flies, but that's a tough break for Eric Monaco. He's been on a bit of a rough streak lately, a couple DNQs, and now this accident for good measure.
Yeah, tough break for Eric Monaco. Just hasn't been able to do much all season long, and that look just continues. Chase Christ now comes back onto the oval. At this point, he has to stay committed to another lap here. He cannot come down pit road, otherwise he will not win this race.
Yeah, he's got to commit. They all have to commit at this point. I think the top 9 cars, or the top 8, have committed themselves. No, Stephen Gale can't make it. He's coming down pit road. So we'll see if anyone else joins them there. Ryan Griffin stays out, but James Ellison's coming to pit road. That leaves 6 cars to settle it here at Denver. They're going to try and make it to the end as the white flag flies.
This is going to be very close, although it would make it a sweep for Spa for winning here, wouldn't it? Because I believe it was Julio Cesar earlier this season that won on the oval when we ran here earlier this year.
I believe you're right.
If I recall correctly.
And also, this would be big for all these guys, because let's be honest, we haven't talked about any of these guys all day. Chase Christ, Keon Daly, Echo Evans-Ross, Ryan Griffin having a strong run of the road course. How about that? Kev Shearer, Chris Lattimore. We haven't talked about these guys all day long, and here they are running 1 through 6, and this strategy is probably going to get them to the finish, if they can get to the finish.
And Ryan Griffin says he hates road courses, and here he is about to finish in the top 5 and 1.
He probably still does, to be fair.
Yeah, to be fair. But yeah, Chase Chris, 73 points out from Dylan Young, entering this race in the playoffs, 11th in points. As we see there, yeah, Eric Monaco officially DNF'd from this event. Like, this will be huge if Chase Chris can make up spots, especially with Dylan Young being as far back as he is. I don't even see him in the top 10 at all. So that's going to be a lot of points made up here.
Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? We're back onto the oval for the final time. Chase Christ, we know he's stepping away at season's end. We're going to miss him around here, but this could be a great way to go out if this is where it ends for him. Coming through 14 and 15, he can practically coast his way to the end from here, but he gets onto the brakes one last time through 16, 17 on the right, and now back through turn 18. He's pretty much home free now, and for the third time in his 1-Up Superstar Series career, and for the third time this season, it'll be Chase Christ going the victory lane on a massive economy run that sees him take the checkered flag without making a trip to pit road a single time.
Yep, and you got Keon Daly in second, Echo Evans Ross.
I think that's a career best for Keon Daly, actually.
Ryan Griffin in fourth. I don't remember who dropped his 21 in fifth.
Kev Shearer,
yes, thank you.
But you gotta feel
Lattimore in the 13.
Yeah, you gotta feel though for Henry Thomas. He led 3/4 of this race, had to make a pit stop late, got jumped by Emma Kruger. 8th place will have to do for the 16 today.
But hey, on the plus side, still ahead of both Mashburn and Young, and even ahead of Vargas as well by a spot. So that's still points made up on the lead, and that closes him in closer to that championship.
I'm sure that'll be of little consolation to him, though. He was doing so good today, and he probably felt like this was his race to lose as well. But
another driver I want to point out, Stephen Hunter up there in 10th and 31. Great day for Crossroads Racing. They able to stay out of the trouble today.
Unfortunately, some weren't able to do that, and we'll get your replays of that in a moment. As Sam Donato comes around, he'll finish 41st today. But we'll get you a look at what happened to Eric Monaco in a short moment to be our pretty much only incident in the race at this point. So we'll get you a look at that in a moment, but man, what a day we had again here at Denver. So this looks like it was on Eric Monaco's outlap coming out of the pits. Maybe he had an issue, bumps with Sam Donato there, and I think he did have an issue after that because he was trying to make it to pit road, didn't quite get there.
Oh.
We've seen that before here.
Yeah, it's a good thing those tire packs are there too, because that would have been a heavy contact with a concrete wall otherwise.
It's a tough break, and it probably didn't need to happen for Eric Monaco as well, but that's how it goes sometimes, and he'll bounce back, I'm sure, for the next race, which is coming and not that far away. It's only next week that we go back racing, and it will be at the North Wilkesboro Speedway for 100 laps out there. Oh, so we got a little slide for Bobo Jones coming back to pit road, but either way,
I'm sure he's just giving the fans a little bit of a show.
And it wouldn't be a 1-Up Superstar race this season if Bobo Jones wasn't involved in something, now would it? But from Jacob Crago and from myself as well, thanks for joining us for an epic day at Denver Motorsports Park. We'll see you again next week at North Wilkesboro Speedway for race number 27 of the season. We'll see you guys there, but until we see you at North Wilkesboro, so long from Denver. A big congratulations goes out to Chase Christ, who played the strategy perfectly, and for the third time in his career, will stand up on top of the podium as a race winner.